Okay, let me call to order the village board meeting for September 23rd. No, October 14th. I got the wrong agenda here.
We're in trouble
Thank you.
already.
Let's try this again. Village board meeting, October 14th, 2024. And we need to start with roll call.
Karas.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Here.
Doxy.
Here.
Bhatia.
Here.
Venturini.
Here.
Washburn.
Here.
DeGroot.
He's here. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd join me. Okay, so the next item that we have is a presentation and consideration of Resolution 22-2024, which is Hewitt Memorial Drive.
Mr. President, do I make this motion now?
Let's do the resolution first, and so everybody hears it, and then the motion will make sense. So as you know, with resolutions, they're drafted by attorneys, and there's whereases and all this stuff. So it'll take a moment or two to get through, but it's really good. So this is a resolution dedicating Hewitt Memorial Drive in honor of John Hewitt. Whereas John Hewitt was a long-serving trustee in Mount Pleasant government with about 20 years as a member of the community's town board and village board, and whereas John Hewitt was a dedicated public servant who leaves a lasting impact for current and future residents of the village of Mount Pleasant, and whose leadership in parks, public safety, and other areas contributed to making this community a great place to live, and whereas John Hewitt's contributions to society extend beyond his work with the village government to include serving in the National Guard of Wisconsin, teaching swimming at the YMCA and Camp Anakiji, working as a Lake Michigan lifeguard, and volunteering for local organizations, including the Greater Racine Kiwanis Club. And whereas John Hewitt resigned from the village board in June 2024 and passed away on September 21st, 2024. And whereas the village board wishes to honor John Hewitt's legacy of positive service to the Mount Pleasant and surrounding communities by naming a street in his honor, and now therefore be it resolved that the village board of the village of Mount Pleasant, on behalf of the citizens of Mount Pleasant and the staff of village government, pursuant to section 70-7 of the Municipal Code of Ordinance, do hereby proclaim as follows. State Highway 311, located between Highway 11 and Highway KR, be locally known as Hewitt Memorial Drive. So this would probably be a good place to do the motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve Resolution 22-2024, dedicating Hewitt Memorial Drive in honor of John Hewitt.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. Let's do a voice vote on this. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Well, there would be that, that motion passes, and we have Hewitt Memorial Drive. Congratulations. You want me to sign this one? Yeah. Oops, I'm sorry. So you get to attest.
sign, but behind it.
So we'll hand this over to him. Actually, we're gonna give it to you guys. Hey, you strong people, if you wanna come, he wants you in this in front of you, and then you all go.
Yeah, just stand here.
Okay, I've never had
Oh,
this.
are we gonna walk circles on that?
Yes.
Can I move this down a little? I know somewhere Johnny's smiling. He loved being the center of attention, whether he knew that or not, but I'm sure he's loving every minute of this. And for people to have his name to go find a street, he'll be happy. Thank you for this. He loved you guys. He loved this community. And this is really a cool way to remember him. Thank you. Well, you always had the last word, but I have to, the one thing we were kind of talking about a minute ago, you know, whenever I'd see something was happening around town or whatever, and I'd ask him, he'd like, oh, I know what's going on, but I can't tell you. So I never heard anything. So, but thank you. And thank you for this. He's smiling. He's somewhere happy.
Slide in back through.
I think I'm gonna change my last name back to Hewitt. We're typing my name from now on.
Okay, now we'll just carry it around for a while. Did you put these pocket tickets? No. Well, like this one is, up in the air, it has to be. That's a big road. Maureen said, sir.
Nancy, if you'd like to go on mic and make some comments, by all means. If any of the trustees would like to have a word on mic, feel free to, regarding Mr. Hewitt.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, I think what I want to add is that even before I came on the board, I think everyone in the village, in the region, knew and still knows who John Hewitt was. And I cannot think of any better way to have a legacy for him. Anything else you do, you issue a plaque or whatever it is, it stays on some wall for a few years or a few months, but this is going to be forever. And I'm very grateful, for the village to honor his legacy. I think it will pave the way for many future generations that there's value added in serving your community.
Thank you. When John and I first met years ago, when he joined the board, one of the things he always talked about was Camp Anakiji. And every time we've gone up to our League of Municipality conference, he would run up to camp on the way there to our league meeting if we were in Green Bay and, you know, going through that area. But John and I shared our love for Camp Anakiji, and that gave us something in common. You know, sometimes we don't get to know each other as well as we would like to. But again, as Ram said, very few people in the village don't know him, and his legacy is one of commitment to the community, commitments that like most people don't make. And we need more people like John Hewitt to care about us and represent us in the world. But we'll miss him very much. What a brave man to think of what he went through with his health in the last year. What a brave man, how he fought that and acted like it was no big deal, you know. So we just really appreciate John, and I'm honored to have served with him and beside him and to have known him for as long as I have. So thank you for coming tonight and accepting that resolution.
I'd like to say something too. When I retired in 2012, I started attending, well, actually maybe before that, I started attending the board meetings just to see, because I was interested in village government, and at some point I decided I wanted to ask, you know, how do I get involved in it? How do I get on a committee at least? And when the meeting was over, I mean, he was the one that you could just tell he would be approachable. And so that's who I approached, and that's what he was. He was very kind and thoughtful and had suggestions and gave me his card and said, you know, if you want to call me and talk about it, I have some suggestions. And so I had a good experience with him, even though I didn't run for the board for a few years. He was always there, and he would bring things to me. I remember him bringing a big packet about the history of the, I don't know if it was the water or the sewer agreement, but one kind of like a history to kind of catch me up on all the things that had gone before. He knew a lot, and he wanted to share it. He wasn't one of those people who wants to hold his information private and, you know, have that power from it. He was one who believed in sharing information, and he was very helpful to me as a new trustee. And I always knew that I could ask him, and he would be thoughtful. I really like this, what it says here, his kindness, thoughtfulness, and forward thinking. And he was always thinking about, you know, he identified a couple of pieces of property that, you know, maybe the village, you know, this is open, maybe this is something we should purchase for the future. And he also, I remember making some comments about, you know, sometimes you make a decision and it turns out to not go the way you hoped it went, but that, you know, you don't want to avoid making decisions for fear that it's not going to work out. Something else will work out. And I mean, he just was a very positive force, and I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, I'd like to say something too, but go ahead.
Well, you should be last. Right? Okay. Yeah. I just briefly would like to say that, you know, as a member of the staff here over the last 7 or 8 years, there's been tough times, and John, you know, knowing someone like John makes it worth it. Having John in my life, and I know you could probably talk to a great number of staff members here that John treated you not only kind but special. Like, I had an event in another community well north of here. John showed up, you know. John gave me a DVD about the history of people who founded S.C. Johnson. He just treated you like an individual, and he was so kind. And, you know, kindness is something that is, unfortunately, I think, eroding in our society. And I think the world became less kind by not having John as part of it.
Well, I certainly have to echo everything that's been said tonight. And Midge and Bill, I think what you really need to know, you know, on a personal basis, John was beloved within the village, not only outside of these walls, but inside the village walls as well. He had no enemies. inside the village walls. And it's just a testament to some of the things that Trustee Anastasio was saying. His kindness. He's one of those people that just always wanted to do the right thing, and that came through with how he conducted himself in the village meetings, at the committee level, at the board level, and some of the at times unpopular positions that we may have had to take, but he was always about doing the right thing. What saddens me about him is that he takes with him so much institutional knowledge that we can't replace. When it comes to knowing something about the history of the village, we'll be in a little bit more scramble mode, not having John here, because we have to do the hard work of looking it up ourselves instead of it just coming out of his head 100 miles an hour, because he knew everybody and everything regarding what was important and going on in the village. So again, we think that this is probably the least that we could do to honor his memory, and I hope that you appreciate the tribute.
I'm just thinking that he's going to love it that every time someone has to go somewhere, his name will show up on the GPS.
There you go. Again, congratulations. So with that, let's move on to public comment. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments on any matter. Please listen for the president to recognize you. State your name and address for the public record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody signed up? Okay. Anybody wishing to speak publicly? Going once, going twice? In that case, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
So I hear a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So that motion carries. So under new business, we've got resolution 17-2024, which is the 11,508 Brown Road Comprehensive Plan Amendment, the CPA 24-1. We got a public hearing regarding that. So to open up the public hearing regarding CPA 24-1, following rules apply to the public hearing. If you wish to speak, fill out a public hearing form, which you can find on the table near the entrance. Once recognized, speakers should come to the podium and identify themselves with name and address. Please speak clearly into the microphone. Speakers must direct all discussions towards the board. I will not allow interchange between the members of the audience and the speaker. Please do not interfere with nor interject comments while another person has the floor. Please keep all comments on the particular item before the board and no longer than 5 minutes. And finally, please turn off or mute electronic devices. Mr. Sam Schultz.
Mr. President, trustees, the applicant applied to amend the village's part of the transportation element of the multi-jurisdictional comp plan for Racine County for a proposed roadway extension of International Drive from Durand Avenue, which is State Trunk Highway 11, to Braun Road. The applicant wishes to remove the proposed extension to support a phase of the Microsoft Data Center development project within Area 2 of TID 5. Additionally, village staff wish to use this opportunity to clean up the proposed roadway layer of the comprehensive plan to show roads which the village has since built, remove the layer from the village of Sturtevant, and generally to reflect the updated roadway environment in the western portion of the village. The notice for this went out to all the affected property owners in the area. There are essentially about 10 major changes of it. As a reminder for this process, tonight is just the public hearing. This will then be on the Plan Commission agenda next week. That's on the 23rd. They have approval denial authority over comprehensive plan amendments, so they will adopt a formal resolution approving it or denying it. And then you would, if they do approve it, you would all see this on the 28th, but there would be no public hearing attached tonight, is that public hearing. The major changes are removing that International Drive extension between Durand Avenue and County Line Road. That basically bisects areas 1 and 2 of TID 5. The second change would be to remove International Drive extension between Louis Sorensen Road and Durand Avenue to reflect the final location of the roadway. The third would be to remove the Southeast Service Road connection shown at its intersection with County Trunk Highway KR to reflect the final location of the roadway. The fourth would be to remove Enterprise Drive extension east of International Drive to reflect the final location of the roadway. The fifth would be to remove the extension of Enterprise Drive west of International Drive to keep roadway flexibility within the TID 5 North area. The sixth would be to remove the realigned southeast frontage road to reflect ongoing discussions with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation regarding the necessity of the realigned frontage road, which creates a series of double frontage lots. The seventh is to remove the extension of Nations Drive between Carrington Boulevard and realigned southeast frontage road due to the removal of the southeast frontage road. The eighth would be to remove the Globe Drive and Carrington Boulevard extensions to reflect the final locations of the roadway per what was built out there. The ninth would be to amend the location of Meridian Drive to reflect the final location of the roadway east of International Drive, extending towards Amerigo Drive and Sturtevant per the adopted TID 3 project plan. And lastly, the 10th would be to amend the location of the new roadway identified as C Street in the TID 3 project plan to extend straight south from Meridian Drive from the current shown intersection with Washington Avenue or State Trunk Highway 20. The staff and the Plan Commission reviewed this at last month's August's Plan Commission. The Plan Commission didn't have any issues with it at that time, and they forwarded on to this public hearing. There will be exhibits that you'll receive in your packets for the final one. You'll be able to see it in Plan Commission next week as well. And if you have any questions about those, please reach out to Robin or I, and we can also get you those detailed exhibits. But in summary, like I said, these are mostly to reflect either adopted plans like the TID 5 or 3 project plans, to show where final locations of roadways were built, or to remove those that we feel are currently not necessary, mostly due to conversations with DOT. That's it. Oh, and sorry, I should reinforce, this is the village's comprehensive plan, so this is a long-range vision for the development of these roadways. None of these are expected to be built, tomorrow for any means. This is a layer on our long-range comprehensive plan. So your vote for approval or denial of this ultimately would not affect, a start of construction or anything like that. It's just the long-range layer on our comp plan.
So more than anything, this is just housekeeping to better reflect how the land is being used versus what the plan was back
Agreed. I would sort it kind of into two main buckets in your head. The first is Microsoft's request to remove the road that bisects their site so they can move forward with their Area 2 site plans, which you all actually approved the other month. So that shouldn't be too much of a surprise to you, because on those plans, it did not have a big roadway going through the middle of their property. And then the second bucket would be those cleanup items that you just mentioned.
So just to clarify, when you talk about removing these roadways, you mean removing them from the plan. None of these roadways are built yet.
Some of them are built, and so those we're removing the roadway layer from the plan because it's just shown as right-of-way now. So we don't need to show it as a future road if it's built. But for the ones where they are not built and we're removing them, that is just to essentially provide more roadway flexibility in the long run for the areas that we think might have rapidly changing site plan issues.
All right. This is where I would invite the public to speak for or against or for information purposes. To the best of my knowledge, we have nobody signed up for this. So going once, going twice, anybody wishing to speak regarding this particular matter? Last chance. There being nobody from the public wishing to speak, I can close the public hearing on this, having fulfilled our statutory obligation. So regarding Resolution 17-2024, Comprehensive Plan CPA-24-1, public hearing is closed, and we can move on. We don't have any motions that we have to do regarding this. This is for public consumption only. So let's move on to Public Works. We've got discussion, possible motion to award a contract regarding lift station standby power improvements project.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to award the contract for the 2025 lift station standby power improvements project to the low bidder, Next Electric LLC, in the amount of $942,625.
Second.
So I hear a motion and a second. Any other comments from Public Works or?
This is really very important. When we discussed this at our committee meeting, first of all, the engineer's estimate had been 1.4 million, so this is almost $5 million less than what we had projected. But most importantly, these are the standby power improvements in the event of power going out. They'll now, all of our lift stations, I think, Tony, right, all of them will have generators.
Correct.
And so this is really a very important safety improvement for our residents in the event of power going out and so forth.
And for the employees.
Yeah.
Did you want to cover that real quick, Tony, or?
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so like was said, this is a project to install 7 permanent generators at the stations where we don't have backup power. Right now, the utility relies on portable generators, which is practically unheard of. You won't find any other communities or utilities that do that. So this is obviously an attempt to modernize our facilities and make them more reliable and again, less of a burden on our staff. So we received 5 bids. All were very favorable, and we are recommending approval. One thing I would point out is your potential award should be done with the note that the construction budget for this is actually in the proposed 2025 budget. So keep that in mind as you award this. But I'll certainly take any questions if anybody has.
Well, I think it was kind of important what you brought up about at the meeting, that right now, if a lift station's power goes out, one of the employees has to get called in, get a portable generator, drive over to it, and of course, it's probably because the weather's bad. Mm-hmm. So then they're having to, face that additional hazard and the time lag. So this is, I think, a good place to put our infrastructure money.
Mr. President.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'd like to add the comment to echo what Trustee Anastasia said, that this is an investment. I would not even put a portable generator at the home, because we all know for a power outage, if the lift stations stop working, what happens? We don't want that to happen in the community. So I think it's a good investment for the greater benefit of the community, and I'm pleased that the staff is recommending they did their homework, and the bid came even much below the estimate, so I'm all for it.
In the case of a lift station's power going out, yes, we can expect to get calls from very angry villagers because
Absolutely.
we don't have standby power on our lift stations.
That's why I didn't want to say what happened. We all know what happens.
Yeah, that's a matter whose time has come to solve.
It's a dirty matter.
Yes, indeed.
And just to clarify, Mr. President, if I might, Tony, do you want me to add to that motion that it is covered in the 2025 budget? Is that what I heard you?
I don't think
They
it's.
should just keep in mind.
You were just making that statement.
I just wanted everybody to be aware of that because of the lead times to build these generators, we wanted to award it now and give the awarded contractor time to order them So however many months that takes, we can be ready to build in '25.
Okay,
So
very
he's
good.
saying don't remove it from the budget if you're gonna approve it tonight.
Very good. Just wanted to clarify, just wanted to clarify.
Okay, so in the matter of awarding the contract to the lift station standby power improvements project, roll call, please.
Karis.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Batia.
Aye.
Venturini.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
DeGroot.
Aye, motion carries. We have nothing else on the agenda unless trustee wanted to say something?
Mr. President, motion to adjourn.
Second.
I hear a motion, a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.